don't share information, we're going to miss the bigger picture. And why am I saying that? It's coming from what has happened in the last 2 years. We've all experienced the impacts of COVID. By the way, my training is going to be the impact of technology, in case you guys are wondering why am I going on and on about nuances and trends and changes that have taken place. So I'm going to be speaking a lot about the way we embrace technology in our current businesses and bringing it home. And I'm going to use quite a number of stories to do that so that we can all relate. So what was my last trail line before I veered off? Someone to remind me? I'm just trying to see if people are listening or they're not. About networking, yes, thank you very much. So, don't leave in here without getting a number from someone. Why? When I walked in here, the first thing I picked up, everyone was on their phone. I'm not too sure whether it was the key in terms of updates on what happened this morning or last night, or sharing news, or are we still ruminating on what happened to Will Smith? I don't know, But while we're there, I said to myself, there's a saying in English which says, happy wife makes a happy home. I hope the women would have said amen by now. But why am I saying that? You look at what happened in the most recent awards night, and Will Smith did what he did. A lot of people are going to judge him. But for me, as long as I've got the support of the person who I stay with, everything else is not as important. No matter what the media will say, because guess what? Media are going to talk this week, next week it's no longer going to be news. So that's the same impact which happens with ourselves as an individual, but also as a brand. So Will Smith is a key observation point to say that media and social media and the device that we use is now the technology that's propagating any form of communication. Literally everyone heard that type of news coming in from one place or another, but where did it come? On our devices. So, enough with the news and what's going on. I've got a slideshow which I'm going to take you guys through, but before we do that, can I ask you all to stand? Give yourself space. I'm told there are vouchers for dinner, lunch, bed and breakfast, and a holiday for those who participated the most. Or you weren't told, now you know. So I need you to give yourself space, stretch your hands, and guys, I know some of us are wearing masks. Unfortunately, I'm not going to wear it because I cannot communicate wearing a mask. But the good thing, I think you'll have noticed last week, South Africa finally was the first African country to say that we no longer can wear masks. So that's a plus. It's no longer mandatory. I think it's probably going to come through down into Zimbabwe and the like. For those who have to, hey, do what you need to. Your health matters. Right. Can I ask you to close your eyes? What's going through your mind? Why are you laughing? What's going through your mind?
What does he want us to do?
It's amazing when you've got the mic and you're in control, eh? Eyes closed. So I want you to think of 3 flowers. Yes, 3 flowers with your eyes closed. I see some people think with their eyes open. I want you to think with your eyes closed. Right, from a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You should be done, right? Now can I ask you to open your eyes? If you thought of a rose, can I ask you to sit down? If you thought of a lily, can I ask you to sit down? What flower did you think of, sir? Sunflower. Nice. And what flower did you think of? Daisy. Nice. Okay. So at least I can qualify to be a prophet. I think you guys have picked that up, right? Because most of you managed to sit down. So that was just a nice breaker to get us started. We've had so many shifts in the last 2 years with regards to business, especially with how technology impacts us as a country and also as a business. I'm just going to ask you guys to whip up a clean piece of paper. We're still warming up, don't worry. We're warming up. It's all going to make sense as we progress. On the paper, I need you to list, or at least write in nothing more than 2 lines, the best customer experience that you had in the last year and a half or 2. That's question number 1. Skip 5 lines after you've answered that one. The second one, I want you to list the worst customer experience that you've had. So the first one is the best. The second one is the worst. The third one, I want you to list the worst mistake your business made in the last 2 years when it comes to customer experience. I'm giving you 2 more minutes to complete the assignment. One more minute. Do I have a roving mic? I'm going to need another mic when you ask. Don't. I'll just. Right. I presume you're done. Are we done? Who's keen to share their 3? And remember, if you don't volunteer, I'll make you volunteer by using the mic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My best experience, customer experience, was at a takeaway or a fast food shop where I forgot my bag, and the assistant actually used my air conditioner to trace. That was my best. I've never experienced that before. My worst was at a bank where we made to shift from one queue to another without being told exactly what which queue was the correct one for almost 30 minutes. Right? And the last one, the worst mistake our business made actually was to stay closed after the pandemic in fear of contracting the virus. So people were unsettled. So when the decision was being circulated as to whether we can go back to the office, we remained closed. And as a result, we lost the business.
Wow, thank you. Round of applause. I'm just surrounded by track, so I'm trying to run away from track.
Okay. My best customer experience is when I didn't know that the response was so sweet. Then my worst experience was at CPR when I didn't my license. I was moved from one office to the other and I didn't manage to get that. And then when the slow movement is the company is to swiftly move to digital in terms of our advertising to be able to attract the right customer.
Thank you. Round of applause again. I'll take two more last people, and there's a reason why we're gonna ruminate on what these people have said. Sure. Tell what the gentleman did.
Thank you. So I'm coming from the side of a service provider. My experience, the best one that I got so far is when we were working from home, and I was able to meet a target of about 50 clients as per week, and this was done digitally, no physical phones, through emails. That was one of my best experiences. And then my worst experience as a service provider is addressing to a client through gender means saying, "Hello ma'am, how are you doing?" With "Yes sir." Ooh. That was the worst. That was the worst. And as an organization, what I feel we have failed to achieve, say for the past 2 years, not being able to fully establish the LTE network, because we have introduced LTE, but of late we haven't been able to connect new clients. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. The last one, I think there was a hand. Was it here? Oh, okay, sure.
My best experience I can think of was arguably at a place where I thought it would be terrible. It was at Western Hospital. They were enthusiastic, they were loving, and they were caring. I was pleasantly surprised because I thought they would be the opposite. My worst experience was at the bank. At the bank. Ooh, yeah. I was trying to process something and I was being moved from one office to the other, and I ended up not getting help at all. What we have not done well, I'm from Harare. I think what we have failed to do very well is to have visibility, advertising and visibility. Because honestly, some people don't even know about Harare, honestly, because we aren't advertising broadly and very well. So I think that was a shortcoming as a company.
Awesome, thank you very much. I didn't catch the name of the bank where you got the
Short business.
yes. So guys, in front of you, you're armed with name cards, or this is what we call a name card. So what you need to do is you need to put your name there, and please make it big and bold, so that when just your first name is okay. It will make it easy when asking questions and referring to the handsome and pretty faces in here for some feedback. So, we've had some very interesting feedback from the 4 people who spoke. And the good thing is that people are agreeing that at some point in time their business dropped the ball, correct? Which is everyone, I think, if we go through one also. So here's a funny question. Does everyone in here have a smartphone? I think 80% from what I'm seeing are on Android, correct? You guys are on WhatsApp, right? Have you guys ever missed an update on WhatsApp? No. So you're always on track, right? But how come the businesses that you represent are not always on track when it comes to updates in terms of technology? Who's driving the businesses? Oh, I can't hear you. It's you. Are you not the people who give the feedback and the decisions to drive the businesses? So why do we feel the show disservice, or why do we fail to communicate? Yeah.
I'll say sometimes it's because of there's too much red tape and bureaucracy. So by the time you get decisions made, it will be too late, or you have missed the right opportunity to get something done.
Okay. That's a very, I'm looking for the right words without offending anyone. I appreciate the feedback. That's the proper mechanical feedback that you'd expect from decision makers. Let's go a little bit deeper. Can I get some more feedback coming from you? Are we all saying that's what happens in our businesses? Yes.
I think for me, sometimes I'm just late to respond to stuff, and I'm overwhelmed with a lot of stuff, and I sometimes miss the important stuff like that. So yeah, it's trying to catch up with stuff, and you're like, okay, we'll do it. By the time you do it, it's already too late.
Okay. So maybe let me just rephrase my ask. How many of us in here saw business growth during COVID? Nice. What technology aspect did you bring to your business? It didn't happen organically.
Okay, so the thing is that we had clients coming through to fill in forms, but instead on our mobile app, you can actually open an account. You can decide on the KYC light, or you can do the whole thing of having a savings account, which is something that was highly appreciated by clients, because you know that interaction of actually going to the branch, not knowing where the other person is coming from, was highly taken by clients when it came to like opening an account.
Okay, interesting. Your hand was also up?
Oh, we're from the same organization.
Okay.
So she's mentioned.
Mark, Luke, John. Okay, all right. No, that was a joke. I know those who were. Someone else? Yes, you said you had business growth during COVID. What did you guys implement? Right, safeguard.
So with COVID, I think that like other organizations which had to cut down, we had to continue going. And then also, I think also alternative digital security solutions, electronic security solutions that clients
Okay. So if I'm getting the sentiments in the room correct, less than 15% of people in here or businesses that they represent saw a growth during the COVID era, right? The difference, which is what, 85%? We saw either stagnant or a decline. Can I ask you a very personal question? What if we get another strain of flu stronger or bigger than COVID in the next 2 years? What are you going to do differently as a business?
I think I'm going to invest more in IT,
Okay.
in technologies that are going to manage the business, off-site, online. That's the major lesson that I learned from the current budget.
True?
I would really love to emphasize more on his point, because coming from the angle that I'm in as a network service provider, we didn't suffer any decline in terms of business. It actually went up because we had a lot of people signing up for internet connection. Most of the meetings were being done online. Learning was being done online. So we need to emphasize more digitally, other than what we can do in analog
we suffered a decline, but realized that we needed to be up to date with what's going on. Technology was the thing that was working. So, for example, instead of people were not meeting like this, we were affected that we're not meeting. And so now it was like, we can offer you a service where you can come use our technology to then host your meetings. In terms of our restaurant, we were offering delivery for food. You're not going out, so you order online and you deliver. So even if we're to hit another pandemic, we're now going to use technology more in terms of providing the services that we normally used to provide physically.
Nice, I like that. So now the sentiment has changed. We all understand and appreciate that technology is going to be the key driver in shaping our business and where we're going. Can I now take it a step further? What's going to render you on a job in the next 10 years? Why are you going to be still employed, or what makes you think that you will still have a job in the next 10 years? What are you going to do? Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm speaking to people who represent either customer care, customer experience, right? And we want to see how we can improve the CX in our businesses or departments as an enabler for revenue, right? Through ability to synergize or synthesize technology trends that are new. Is that correct? Okay. Now my question. What is going to render you to still remain on a job in the next 10 years as an individual? Take away the brand that you represent. I guess we never thought of it like that. Yeah, I know most Zimbabweans have got a side business. After work, you're either selling Avon, or you're selling perfumes from your aunt that you're being sent from UK, or you're doing your chicken project, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, we are all serial entrepreneurs by nature because of the economy that we stay in. But what then makes me wonder is, you still have someone who's in a C-suite, which in case you guys didn't know, CX roles in the next 20 years are going to occupy nothing less than 45% of C-suite jobs. C-suite being your senior executives. I'll give you just a ballpark number. McDonald's CEO last year earned $50 million US dollars as the CEO. Google CEO, he earned $243 million. Tesla CEO, he earned $850 million. In Zimbabwe, in case you didn't know, there's a bank where we've got a CEO who's taking home nothing less than 3.5 million US. So imagine if you sit in this board. Because ideally, if I were to give you $1 million right now, I can at least almost change the trajectory of your destiny. It's a given. But the question is, are you seeing that? You can tell me that money is not a motivator, but clearly, why do you dress well? Why do you smell well? Why? There's a money element in it. So back to my question. What is going to render you to remain on the job in the next 10 years? What are you going to do? Yeah. Oh, sure. Ladies first. Yeah.
All right. I believe that upskilling, especially in as far as digital skills acquisition, is really, very crucial for you to remain relevant. Because I think it's all about relevance at the end of the day. So you need to be able to see where the future is going, and then you're also then able to start growing yourself.
Okay.
I think this can be from a corporate point of view where you are. I think you need to be more customer centric, meeting the needs of the client. At the same time, be embracing to one that relates with the client, not just the business.
I like where he's taking it, yeah. But,
For me, I would really want to always stay relevant. So try as much as I can to attend these seminars and workshops so that I know what's actually going on in the world that we're operating in. Because it doesn't wait for anyone. And the moment you lag behind with something, then that affects your whole business and how it operates. So actually, my way of staying relevant will be more from education and attending more of these workshops and just a lot of things that will help me grow in what I'll be doing.
okay, someone else?
I think on top of upskilling and attending courses and all, what will keep us there is what value are you bringing to the organization in terms of customer experience, which, like you've said, in the coming years, like 45% will be that. And so what is it that you're doing to the customers for them to remain loyal to the brand? What is it in terms of value that you are putting in your staff, if you're management, or if you are the lower level staff, what is it that you're doing that the customers then look and they say, if they are to give feedback, Mary is the real deal in terms of service. So maybe you want to understand customer needs and think ahead of what the customer would want, not to think business as what is the business is trying to do. You have to then make your decisions in whatever position that you are in with the customer's need and anticipation higher than what the business, because the business will then be shaped by the customers.
Is she reading this? I'm just wondering.
No, I'm not.
No, I'm joking. That's very good feedback. Yes. So, round of applause. I like what you said, you know. The idea is understanding your customer and being relevant. You know, Zimbabweans are very educated. If I were to ask how many people have degrees in here, I wouldn't be surprised that by the time I walk out of here, just the 50 of us in here, I'll come out with nothing less than 100 degrees at the bare minimum. But we've realized that education is not necessarily a factor of success, or it does not equate to a business growing. There are other things that determine it. And here's a classic one. I think she spoke about skillfulness and trends. Wearing a slim fit suit, that's staying with trends. Getting her hair braided and getting it, shaved on the sides, that's staying with trends. Using an iMac machine, on Apple machine or iPad, that's staying with trends, correct?
Yes.
But it's not just in the staying with the trends. It's also understanding what's shifting the trends. 10 years ago, my mom would still go to the hair salon and get her hair done. Today, women are still getting their hair done. What has changed? The act hasn't changed, but it's the service in which it's being delivered that has changed. Which echoes to her sentiment to say that when you understand where your customer is going, it's going to be very easy for you to remain in business. It's also going to remain very easy for you to have a job. But if you don't understand where your customer is going, you miss the mark. So here's a classic example. Kodak. We all know Kodak. What were they known for? For photos, cameras. They then came out with the disposable camera. First of its kind in the early 1999, 2000s, thereabouts. I think I was just finishing high school here. Almost here, around 2000, thereabouts. They then went out of business. They came back a few years ago, and guess what they were making? COVID vaccines. Yes. That was one of the few companies that the former American president, before Joe Biden walked into office, what was his name, by the way? The man with the toupee? Sir Donald Trump. He gave them $300 million. and they rolled out the first COVID vaccine, which was given in America. So they realized we're going out of business. Well, they were out of business, but then they took a step back and remodeled and realized that the only way to remain relevant is to offer a solution. Last year, all of my relatives, I'm taking some mask, I'm taking some hand sanitizer. That's what everyone was doing. Now that curve is coming down. So what's next? What are we going to be selling? Do we go back to our briefcase or bootcase businesses? The beers, the alcohols. It's because we're failing to understand the needs of our customer. Has anyone ever been at 167? It's a fancy little restaurant slash. If you haven't, I encourage you to go there. When you go there, the first store you're going to come across is an alcohol store called Excella. I think you guys have seen that brand before, or probably used it, or you've got it on your app. It's okay, you know. I'm not here to judge. The owner of Excella is an Indian Indian young boy. He's now will be turning 26 this year. He's a son of the famous Brooks, which sell curtains, fabrics. He's now owning 8 outlets. They all grew through the pandemic. And then from this year, he then scaled from 5 to the other 3. You don't want to know how much he makes per week, because I might shock you guys. But why am I using him as an example? He managed to see the needs of the customer. And his customer is, I still want alcohol. Thanks to the government, which closed all the pubs and the outlets, but people still want to drink. COVID or no COVID, when you stay at home, there is stress at home. And you always want to detox your stress. Based on how you want to detox your stress, or maybe get some energy levels, you're gonna want that supply to come to you. And he created a model around it. He's guaranteed that for the next 10, 15 years it's gonna be relevant. Why? We've got Uber. It's the same type of business. Uber Eats. It's been working. So now when you look at your company and yourself as an individual, my question then would be, what's the experience that you're giving? I know we've all spoken about omni-channel. We all are familiar with what an omni-channel is, right? Where we're saying we give you a service, and your service has got touch points. If I'm online, I'm speaking with you on Facebook, I'm speaking to you on Instagram, I'm chatting to you on WhatsApp, you know, all of those. That's an omni-channel service. We've got a call center, they call you, which is good. If at all now your business is not yet integrated to an omni-channel, something is wrong. A classic example of an omni-channel is you when you eat. You don't eat with your left hand only. You also use your right hand. And sometimes when a push comes to shove and you know that you have not had enough food, you're going to stand up and go to the kitchen and use your legs. Your body then represents what we call an omni-channel. All parts of it in sync, using the same energy and direction to achieve the same goal, the experience of the stomach. That's what we call an omni-channel. So, I want us, before we progress and go into my presentation, most of you have already touched on it. How are we doing on time? Okay, it's still good. What do you think is going to shape the success of your business? I want us to agree on 5 attributes in here. Let me add more flesh to that. When we say we are going for an event at night, we agree that it's called a black tie event, correct? And at a black tie event, we then state the status quo. It's not a black tie event if you go wearing jeans, or if you go wearing a blue suit like this one. It's not a black tie event. You're out of protocol, right? You need to wear either a bow tie or a black tie. and a suit. The same with women. You wear couture dress in line with the event. So that's the protocol. Now I'm bringing it into our space, the customer experience. What are the 5 protocols that we say we're going to run with, which are going to drive our business? Because if we don't agree on them, everything that I'll speak will not make sense to you guys. Example, black tie, I've given you. Another example, casual Friday. Another example, what's another example for dressing? Smart casual. You don't want to be that father-in-law who then comes wearing 3/4 khakis at all. You know, it just throws it off. So what are the 5 that we're going to agree on in here? Oh, they're all going to ride on technology. Yes, they're all going to ride on technology. Yes.
I think communication and consistency.
Communication. I like that one. Let's write that one down. Yes. Lead time, feedback, post, pre-communication. Yeah, feedback. Okay. Let's put feedback in brackets. Convenience. Yes. Innovation. So communication, convenience, innovation. I still have feedback in brackets. I'll tell you why. What are the other 2? Integrity. This will speak to the staff. It's a good one, but integrity is already covered in the convenience. Because if your staff are not integrous, they will not offer convenience or communication. Yes?
Accountability.
Accountability. Shed more light.
Let's say in a company, someone is given a task or you're made to riding with the project. I'm made to say, Lorraine, you need to make sure that you're launching LT. It has to be go on properly. It has to be done correctly. Our responsibility of making sure that that project is run and launched properly. And if there are any shortcomings, you are answerable to why something has failed.
Okay. So allow me to add on to what you said, which is very good. We want to call it speed or right the first time. Meaning that if a process has to be done, it has to be done right the first time. Yes?
Knowing your child market as well. Like, say, for instance, like how we are all intertwined in that. Say, for example, tell one is launching, and definitely I'm going to bring people. These people will need FBC. They need this LMC because they will have. You're going to have a fleet of cars. Check comes in, you're going to be providing fuel to you. So basically what FBC has done is that it's located a clientele that, okay, so there's a need for those accounts. So we're coming in, we're going to be giving them, say, a discount or not a discount necessarily, but we're just going to be here to create an ease of opening their account.
So if I'm getting you correct, his is knowing the customer. Let's list that one. We're now on number what? 5. We'll take 2 more, and then from them, once we add them, we'll then see which ones will cancel out. Yes, I'm coming to you 2 ladies, or 3 of you, yes. So you need to understand your environment or your land, your terrain, your competition. Let's list that one.
I think impact is very important in business.
Impact.
Impact.
Oh, empathy. Okay, yes. I want to add on to what you're saying. So, empathy. Anyone care to share the difference between sympathy and empathy?
Sympathy is feeling sorry, but empathy is getting
Are you still not feeling sorry when you get into my shoes? No, I'm asking her. Yeah?
I think with sympathy, you just feel sorry and it ends naturally. But with empathy, the moment you put yourself in someone's shoes, then you're able to give that person the estimation.
Okay. We'll park that one. I'm coming back. Yeah. You started on the right track. Yes, by the way.
Sympathy, I think it's more to do with being pitiful of someone. You pity them. You pity. Empathy, as you said, you go further. You get into their shoes. You want to do better for them. Whereas with sympathy, you're just kind of pitiful and it doesn't go any further. Yeah.
Okay. So here's a classic example of sympathy and empathy. Your car is being broken into and they stole your handbag or your laptop. You call your boss and your colleagues. Sorry. Very unfortunate. You then call your spouse or your partner. What happened? I'm on my way there. I'm coming there now. I can't believe that happened to you. I need to find this person. Let's go and make a police report. Are you okay? Can you still drive? Let me drive you. Leave your car. I'll get someone to collect you. That's the difference. So when someone then walks the journey with you, they empathize with you. But when someone just shares their, we're sorry, such is life, we're, okay, yeah. You get the difference. The last one, I think I had two ladies here who wanted to contribute. Yes? Efficiency. What was the second one? Didn't we touch on something on speed? Efficiency? Okay. So that will cover efficiency, right?
I also wanted to mention that you have the right product or service. Communication can come, convenience, innovation, but we have the right thing.
Okay, so that will come on innovation, right? Products. If we are reaching the market and we are saying that the innovation that we have, did our product go to the market too early? Is it relevant? Or is it what customers want now? I walked into, is there anyone from First Capital in here? Okay, no, good. I walked into First Capital, and then I was told, we no longer do RTGs. You have to go online and do that. Here's my question. For the last 1.5 years, you have failed to reset my online password. So how am I going to function? So imagine how that made me feel. Priority banking, had driven to Newlands and then to be told this. I said, okay, fine, thank you guys. I am now going to vote with my 2 feet and look for another bank. And I did exactly that. So the small things we take for granted as a brand, and like she rightfully said, maybe when we launch something or when we don't communicate to the customer and we're efficient about the product that we've launched, we miss it. There's a new company that we all love in here. I think it's your competitor. They're probably one of the best. I'm not going to mention their name. They just went on an unsanctioned rebrand where we started seeing vehicles have changed names and there was no communication to the customer. Imagine you come home, right? and you've got a budget with your wife, and then she just decided to spend all your salary and change all the furniture without letting you know. How would you feel? Betrayed, right? I like that one. Betrayed. But the opposite also happens. Imagine your wife and your husband just comes in and says, oh, by the way, I married this new wife, she's now going to stay with us. How would you feel? Especially you heard the law that now customary marriage is now being recognized, eh? Yeah, laws of the land. It's important to know what's going on in your country, guys. Yeah. But that feeling, that expression, that emotion, that's the one that I want to deal with. The same happens when you do certain things as a brand and your customers are not there on the journey. Because a customer is not someone who comes in and says, hi, how are you? It's different. Matter of fact, let me educate you. There's a difference between a customer and a client. A customer, like we all generalize, are the people who come, engage, look, and possibly can shop at or from our brand. A client, on the other hand, is someone who we as a business have what we call a fiduciary obligation, where we need to make sure that we educate them, we inform them, and we also upskill them on what our business is doing. Because the client is no longer a once-off interface. You've got my data. You know my birthday. You know how often I pay. So I'm no longer a customer. I'm a client. So by virtue, I am part of your business. I'm just a different stakeholder. The same way the law states that if you cohabit with anyone for more than 6 months, they're entitled to anything that you own. Yes, I know you didn't know that. The law states that. And that's exactly what a client is. Their entitlement is not necessarily coming and saying, hey, I've got shares in this business. But their entitlement is in knowing the processes and the new products and our communication as an entity so that they know the journey that we're going through. So if we wake up and we change a strategy, or we wake up and we change a product, and we don't engage with the key people, we've missed the mark. So, this is exciting. How many do we now have on our list? 7. We want 8. Who's got 8? Can you count? Can you read them out one by one? Go ahead.
Feedback, communication, convenience, innovation, knowing the customer, understand your environment, empathy, and speed.
Okay. We want to narrow them down to 6. Which 2 are we taking out? Which speak of the same or are repetitive?
Feedback and communication.
Right. So let's cancel one out. Because communication, well, there's no way you can have communication, there's no feedback. Correct? So communication is to say, hi guys, we're going out for a customer visit today. When we go to the customer visit, the customer is going to give us feedback. But the engagement was a communication one when we went to go and see Mr. Customer. Right? Which is the next one that we're cancelling out. Hello? Where would you put speed under if you cancel out speed? Speed is under innovation. You've got a different.
I think we can also cancel the one that says knowing your customer and the one that says understanding the environment.
Yeah, knowing the terrain and the customer.
Knowing the terrain and the customer, they are one and the same.
Somehow.
Because when you say I want to know the terrain or I want to go to South Africa, there are 2 things. I already know that they speak Xhosa, Zulu. I I already know that they don't have certain vowels in their languages when they speak, you know. And I also know that they like rands more than USD. So you need to know the people and the environment, which I agree. Right, so we're left with how many now? Sorry? Did we not take empathy out? Is empathy still there?
Doesn't it come under communication?
Let's take out empathy. Because empathy can be covered on the first two, which can either be convenience, because for you to give something conveniently, it's not by force. You have to be empathetic about it in some way, whether it's positive or negative. Right, so we're now at 6, correct?
Which one?
How many do we have? Huh? It's interesting when we're in a class, right? Please read out the ones that are left. Please listen.
Communication, convenience, innovation, knowing the customer, understand your environment, and speed.
No, but we put those. We've got communication, convenience, innovation and speed are now 1. Knowing your customer environment are now 1. So we've got 4.
We need to have 5.
Can I?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I wanted to bring in empathy because I think it's important part. Let's put it as emotional intelligence because emotional intelligence covers besides empathy things like motivation, self-awareness.
I like that. Yeah.
Self-regulation.
It's as if like he's reading my slides. So that's now 5, correct?
Yeah.
We agreed? Right, before I proceed, quick question. Does anyone not understand any one of these and their impact to the business or on the business? Feel free, guys. This is a training, a safe environment. Going once, going twice, sold. So we're in agreement. Right. Now close those 5. We're going to use them in the next so we'll use them after tea. I think I'm left with another 20 or so minutes with you guys, but in between there'll be a tea break. Is this making sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now that we've created the launch pad, I'm now going to take you through the presentation slides, which I prepared. I present slightly different from most facilitators you come across, and you'll see why. So, this is speaking to the shifts that are taking place currently in our world. The first one, which you're all familiar with, is what I call the digital shift. Clearly, there's now been a rapid acceleration on e-commerce. By way or by a show of hands, how many of us in here have websites that are fully e-commerce integrated? Okay. Let me add more flesh. Having a website and communication platforms and where you're located and where your offices are and what you can buy and the price list is not a full-on integrated e-commerce website. And full-on integrated website has got what we call a back-end API, which now speaks to purchase data and pulls your data and making payments on the platform, and not only just in ZWL. Because remember, when you're e-commerce, you're no longer local, you're global. So my question right now is, If I am FBC and I'm saying I'm the best bank in Zimbabwe, are Zimbabweans only found in Zimbabwe?
No.
Why aren't I having a product or visibility for my customers in America to make a purchase through my platform? When I am PowerTel and I am buying a data bundle for my mother right now, why can't I do that all the way from South Africa? Why can I only do it in Zimbabwe? When you integrate a full-on e-commerce website, you now integrate it with platforms like PayNow, as an example. PayPal is an example. Google Play is an example. Apple Pay is an example. You then have what we call an integration platform, an aggregator, like Shopify. They collate data for you, because everything that we're going to do in this new age is driven on data. Data, in short, numbers don't lie, they tell a story. Numbers, I think if you go on your phone right now, there's an app which you can download. It's called Screen Time. It will tell you the number of hours that you spend on your phone. On average, it's been noticed that people spend a minimum of 5 hours per day on their phone. Because what happens is, Garega, what's up? 2 minutes. Garega, oh, there was a message that came in. There's an email. While I'm driving, while your husband is driving you to work, memory. You're looking and you're on the passenger side, he's talking to you. Oh, by the way, did you do this? Yeah. Huh? Because she's responding on her phone. So, the rapid acceleration of e-commerce triggered by COVID will not reverse once the world opens. Why I say once the world opens, China currently is still under lockdown. Shenzhen went under lockdown 2 weeks ago. Guangdong went under a lockdown. China, as we speak, is still not allowing people to go into China for shopping. We know Zimbabweans were one of the biggest shoppers for China, but they've created a platform in which we can do that. So, this is one of the key attributes, that digital shift, right? And the move to digital channels. What's the second one? You've heard of the word, the metaverse. Okay? So let me tell you what the metaverse is. First and foremost, you've got a very common app called Bookface on your phone. Yes, Facebook. Facebook rebranded. And what are they now called? Meta. Metaverse speaks to anything happening in the digital field or digital space. We now have brands that are selling, I think you'd have seen movies that started almost 4 or 5 years ago with what is happening with Tesla right now, where they're trying to create a new world, a new earth where people can go and stay. But in the metaverse, that's been done virtual. So what's happening right now in the metaverse? You can go and you buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a metaverse currency. You've all heard of Bitcoin and how it started shifting the world, right? Cryptocurrencies in short. That's what I'm talking about. But that's just a drop in the ocean. With metaverse, we are saying Tsitsi can now buy herself land in the metaverse where she can retire. And she can buy this land through cryptocurrency. And in this land, she can choose to even stay next to, who's your favorite personality? It's censored. She can stay next to Will Smith in the metaverse. But what's so funny about the metaverse is she doesn't need to leave her home. It's through all VR. And she gets to live the experience. It's the new technology. She can even now buy clothes. She can go on holidays in the metaverse. So if you've never been to France, the Eiffel Tower, if you've never been to Ukraine, she can do that in the metaverse. So it's giving you a digital experience of another world out there. That's what the metaverse is. But in doing all of that, there are quite a number of attributes which drive it, which can be the customer experience, the connectivity, all of those. Metaverse took a serious growth during COVID. Majority of it was being spearheaded by the gaming world. It's now a billion-dollar industry. So if you've got kids and who tell you that they love games and they like to code games, that might be your next big break, parents. Don't run away from that, I'm just telling you. We've got kids, I think you've seen on TikTok, the young black guy who mimics is now worth over 5 million. Yes. He created a metaverse TikTok application, and it sold 250,000 in the space of 2 minutes. So we are living in a totally different world, but we are in Zimbabwe. Some of these things we're not exposed to, or we don't simply want to lead. We want to go and get the upskill of the degree, but not knowing what's happening with the world and the customers that we live in. So, that's enough on the metaverse. So what's happening? The metaverse combines various tech elements, including virtual reality, augmented reality, and video, in which users connect directly with one another with the digital universe. That's exactly what I summed up. The third one is a key driver of what we call data-led customer empowerment. The customer is going to give you their data. And as more and more interactions are moving online, everyone has got what we call a data footprint. And your footprint leaves a mark. The same way if I were to wear a fragrance and I walk in a room, you can tell that, oh, Mr. Robert was here because of this fragrance. The same way maybe memory would walk in a room, you could sense that this is a fragrance because of the way she smells, right? Or if she walked in and you saw just the back view, you'd know that with her height and the heels that she wears. That's a footprint, a physical footprint. Now a digital footprint is through, number one, every time you switch on your phone, we've got your location. In case you didn't know, if you're so long you're on WhatsApp, you can be found. Don't ever think or lie to yourself that all your information is retrievable. They can access your information. And I know WhatsApp will say encrypted end to end. How do they know that it's encrypted end to end? You know? But that's the main factor about technology. So right now, through the guys in telco, they will tell you that we can track you through a base station when your last active pin was. When you set your phone last seen, or for my phone to be found in case I lose it, what do you think is happening? The same technology is also being used on you. And that's you leaving a digital footprint. Digital footprint, a step further. Every time you go online and you shop for hair or clothes or on YouTube, 3 minutes later, every time you're online, they're now sending you directed ads. Speaking to what you have viewed. That's a digital footprint. It's created an algorithm that has studied you and knows that, okay, Florence likes Brazilian hair. Florence likes to wear this type of clothing, and we're going to be sending these ads specifically more to her. The fourth one, and we started to see these, the new ways of working, or should we call them flexible working. Obviously, with the shift, there's quite a lot of talent out there. In case you didn't know, since COVID, there's been a significant increase in online platform tools. Your Zoom, your Microsoft Teams. And people work even better when they were working from home and were giving better results, so long they had a good network connectivity. Because let's go for a smoke break. Let's go for a tea break. And we go into so-and-so's office. So what happened? I'm a Liverpool fan, you know, and I know we're going to win the league. But every time I meet my colleagues, the first discussion we're talking about soccer. 10, 15 minutes, eating into time. Now when you're home alone, it's you, your four walls, and your family, and your machine. So you put in the time. The only difference, or the only bad thing that came out of working from home was the weight gains. Because now eating was uncontrollable. And sadly, divorce rate in Zimbabwe increased during the lockdown, in case you guys didn't know. Because you are now spending more time at home, and you realized this person that I thought was my it became the monster. So now I can no longer stand them. Right? What do we have in common? Did you pay the bills?
Yeah.
Was the food bought? Huh? Has this been bought? Has the maid cleaned? You then realize that we were having a mechanical relationship, but anyway, that's not what I'm here for. I'm just mentioning it as a fact. So those are what I call the four key elements or attributes that have been driving the world that we're living in. If you look at that graph, it speaks to what has taken precedence in the last 2 years. There's been an increase in online education courses. There's also been an increase in online health services where people could not access. If you go right now into the UK, there's no way you can go or walk directly into a hospital. You need to book, or sometimes they can have an interaction, a visit rather with the doctor, and it's going to be done remotely. There's also been an increase in video and conference call platforms. Zoom this, Google Meets. There was also an increase in online fitness services. I think you guys are familiar with the brand called Peloton. Peloton was the first bike to come with a screen, and then they also took it to augmentation reality, where when you are cycling, you can see yourself wherever you are, while you're in the back, whether in your garage or on your veranda, wherever you're exercising from. Their brand, if you Google them, during 2020 into 2021, it grew by over 500% to become a multi-million-dollar company through cycling. So there was a demand for health services. The last one, social media platforms. Sadly, if you go on these, the most bought social media platforms as engagements were vices. And you would know what I'm talking about, you know? Because people then didn't have anything else to occupy their spaces with. So that's the reality of the world that we're living in. And this is what's driving the future of our business. So why am I mentioning these? I'm going to take you through a short story. Hopefully I'll be able to do it in the next 10 minutes, then we'll break for tea. After we break from tea, I'll come back and we'll do our last activity, and then I will be done with you guys, and I'll open up for questions and answers. So there's a new technology that has come forward. It's called digital wayfinding. What is digital wayfinding? I think most of you are used to the physical way of getting information from customers, or when you're on your phone is telling you where to go. Digital wayfinding speaks of navigating and enhancing your physical space. But with customer experience, there's now a way of navigating and enhancing your internal space when you're speaking to customers. And I'll explain what drives digital wayfinding. So when you look at digital wayfinding, here's a classic example. You're on your phone. When you bring out your phone, you put in maps, Google Maps, I want directions to go to a certain place. It's driven by directing you where to go, and then it's got what we call an experience barometer. The experience barometer then speaks of the time it took for you to get there, or it's suggesting the best way for you to get there. So it mimics 4 key things. The first one, it guides you. The second thing, it frames. The third one, it extends. And then the fourth one, it enhances the experience. And when you look at now businesses that are saying we're going to be relevant up to 2050, they're talking about what we call digital wayfinding. So what is the first one? Guiding. Guiding moves the customer towards beneficial choices. What's a classic example of that? How many of us in here have got a smartwatch? Your smartwatch will send you alerts to say that it's now time to exercise or it's now time to take a water break. That's guiding you. So when you stand up and you're running, and you're then going in a specific area within your location, it's still guiding you. Framing. Framing, when you now go onto your GPS, it's going to give you key information that you want. A classic example would be a car dashboard. A car dashboard is only going to show the most relevant information. Is your seatbelt on? It's created a frame of safety where only that data that it picks up is what's going to relate to you, to your business, or to your customer. What speed are you traveling at? Is the tire pressure okay? Is the oil gauge okay? Something is wrong with the car engine. I think we're all drivers in here, you understand that. Extending. Extending now links the elements from different sources. So when I'm looking at your phone, it's taking information from your website, it's taking information from your social media platforms, it's taking information from your history and your previous email communications. A classic example of extending would be when you look at, you go on to FastJet. FastJet will collate and you buy your ticket online, they'll send you the flight data tickets. Plane is going to depart X amount of time. If there's a delay, they'll also send you a message, this plane has been delayed. That's a form of extension. So I'm first giving you the understanding of this because we're then going to relate this to our businesses and use this type of technology to take it to the next space. Enhancing. When we're talking about enhancing, we're now engaging our customers' senses and emotions. How was the service? Rate me. Did you like it? NPA score. This is where it comes in. So here's an interesting question. Someone asked me, can you enhance a service online or when your service is fully digitally automated? Hello? I'm also asking you guys, can you enhance the service online? How? You said you can enhance it. How? How do I know that she's smiling when she's online?
The words that are used.
But I can fake it. How many, okay, without even going far, how many of your friends smile at you and you know that their smiles are not genuine? So what makes you think you can't do it online? You had your hand up.
Enhancing, what to say, we can enhance maybe by the accessibility, making it accessible to a lot of people easily and broadly within a minimal cost.
Okay. The answer will come out late. I'm not going to share the answer now. So, another key way of enhancing, you guys are familiar with Siri. You're familiar with the Echo platform or the Echo 2. I don't know what Echo runs on. It's Amazon. It's got her own names. It's got a different Alexa, exactly. Or Google Nest. Your phones all have that enhancement where you press the mic, tell me the time, tell me the weather, tell me where my wife is. Or in case you didn't know, there's an app now where you can put in a number and you can track your loved ones. So those are all forms of enhancement that we're talking about. But how does enhancement work? It maps information, it maps data. So remember, everything that we are doing as a business, we need to be creating silos for data. If we're not collecting data, there's no way we can map it. The same way when I order food, there's a map that's going to be followed and communicated. But then there are also controls that need to be put in place. I'm not too sure how many of you have used our local version of hiring a car through Econet from one place to one place here in Zimbabwe. Yes. How many of us have used it? What was your experience?
Convenient.
Convenient?
Yeah, it was efficient.
It was efficient. I'll tell you my few experiences. When you go on the app, you'll see 3 cars roaming around, right? Saying this one is going to come close, number, you tag in where you are. Next thing, they all disappear. What would have happened? It's because the guy is saying, this one is too close for me, and the money that I'll get is not as good as versus the one that came in. So where's the convenience part? Because I don't control that experience. Food for thought. So it's the same even when you go in and purchase a ticket, or you use the proper version of Vine, the one that you find called Uber. They'll give you a platform to rate the driver. Because once you rate the driver, you are now solidifying to say, number 1, he's safe place. Number 2, he's adhering to the protocols of the road, which means that he can be trusted. That's how they gauge the experience. So the next time you see a certain driver and his ratings, and you want to send your son or your child to be picked up, that's the information that you're going to put in. Keep in mind. What does it also do? It paces information. Pacing information is basically putting it in what we call palatable forms, where you can see it makes sense, and then you add value to it. So the key thing with any customer interaction in digital wayfinding, you need to understand and anticipate your customer needs. Remember I asked you guys, what's the future going to be for our customers? Where are we going to be 10 years from now? Are we going to be relevant on the job? If we're going to be relevant, we need to then break it down. What does my customer want? What am I going to give them? And what can I anticipate that they're going to require or they're going to want in the next what? 10 years. And in order to do that, you use that knowledge to make your customer's life easy. And what knowledge are we talking about? It's not necessarily just their demographics, their psychographics, but their purchase history, their frequency of interaction. We've all got that one tete who talks too much in every family, correct? What makes you think that you also don't have that one customer who talks too much? But how are you going to identify them when they come in on a digital online platform? It's through the data that we've collated in the past. That's the information that's driving it, correct? So, a classic example, if you go right now into a restaurant called Taco Bell, they've got a new technology where when you order online, they don't process your order right there and there because you ordered it for collection. Once you come close or within a radius of 5 kilometers to where the restaurant is, they start preparing your food. They do that by what they call geofencing. I think our tech experts would know that. Because you come into their radius or their zone, they now get the alert, this person is on the way. They now start making the food. So imagine if you are a bank and you're saying we are launching our own geofencing app. Mr. Customer said he's coming to collect information or key details from the bank. Once he comes in a radius of 2-3 kilometers, we get a prompt, create his file. It comes to you as an update on your phone. What do you think that will do in terms of the experience that you give the customer? It's a question I'm asking. Imagine if your hairstylist did the same. Because they're known for double booking ladies, correct?
Yeah.
But every time she then knows, oh, Mary is now coming. And Mary is within 5K radius. If she had booked an appointment with Mary, she's going to say, good night, Jane. Sissy Jane, she won't be about 2 hours. Because she values the customer intimacy and the relationship. That's what we're talking about. And what does this then do? It gives you the customer control, knowing that the relationship that you're fostering with the brand, you're not just being taken as an illegitimate customer or child, but you are part of the decision making. It also puts the customer in the driving seat. Because ultimately every customer wants to be made special or to feel special. It's the same with me. If I were to go to an event or a party, I want people to know me by name. It's the same with you. If you come into your household, you want to be recognized by name. Right? And when a brand does that, it's no longer just enough to say, happy birthday. It's no longer just enough to say, thank you for your service. But I want you to have interactions with me that are common, that I can relate to. And when you understand how the customer feels through the device or through the platform of digital wayfinding, you are better able to offer the service that they want. Remember, always when a customer comes in, the customer feels that you know them. And I want to replace the word customer with client. When the client comes in, they always feel that you know them. Don't ever take it for granted to think that Mr. Client is coming in and they're saying that I'm not known. They feel that they've got a relationship. I've been banking with Stanbic. I've been banking with First Capital for the last 10, 15 years before they even changed names, Barclays and whatnot, right? And now I walk in and then they treat me like this. It's two things. They did not empathize with me, they sympathized with me. And because they sympathized, I did what? I walked away. So, moving forward, one of the key things that's going to drive you winning in digital wayfinding is going to be offering a full-on 24-hour integrated customer experience center. And the customer experience center is no longer necessarily just a call center. It's also speaking to all the attributes which can include the mobile integration, the mobile platform, and the social integration with the devices. And we get to rate you as a business. When you don't give me the opportunity to rate the service that I'm getting, you're missing a chance for me to give you feedback. And when you miss the chance of me giving you feedback, remember we identified feedback as one of our key communication to goals as a business. You then miss the opportunity of growing or fixing where you went wrong. You're all familiar with McDonald's. Hello? I think you're familiar that the two brothers who started McDonald's were not the owners of McDonald's. Right? There's a guy called, I think, is it Andrew Kroc? Whatever his name is, it's a Kroc. He managed to do one thing. He took a model and ran with the model because he was able to get feedback and see how he can improve it. The owners of the business were very rigid and did not want to grow the business. So I asked you a question. The next pandemic, what would we have done? Are we still going to be rigid? Yes, the professional way would be, no, there's a lot of red tape in the business. But if the business is told the impact through the data, through the number, through the customers that we lost, do you think the business is still going to remain rigid? Because we're giving them facts. So the onus is on us. And as people or as entities or as employees or employers, we're always armed with two decisions. Share the data that makes the business grow. If they don't take it, take the data that develops you to go to your next hunt. And your next hunt will be your next job. But remember, you all sell labor in here, in case you didn't know it. So, how do you then win? You design algorithms, I think I spoke about this, and then you mine data and the use of them. And then you work with the live data. The live data is what now drives the business. Right, I need to break because we need to go for tea. I've run my tea time by over 8 minutes. So what I'm going to do is, I've asked you guys, if you've got any questions, please note them down. When I come back, I'm going to finish the last 15 minutes of this presentation, and then we conclude with a session on the key elements that we wrote and we agreed on through an activity, and then I'll call it a day. So we're going to break for tea. We're breaking for how many minutes? 10, 30. Oh, okay, we're breaking for 30 minutes. So let's go and knock ourselves off. Tea time. Thank you.